In an era where the clamor of the external world often drowns out the whispers of our inner sanctum, the ancient wisdom of Confucius emerges as a beacon, illuminating a path that winds through the ethics of self-cultivation. This isn't simply a journey of personal improvement. It is the very fabric that weaves together the individual with the broader tapestry of society, where each thread strengthens the other, creating a resilient and vibrant picture. Confucius taught that the cultivation of the self is the cornerstone of virtue and the foundation from which all other ethical behaviors flow. It isn't a doctrine of selfishness, but one of profound responsibility. For to cultivate oneself is to set a standard, to become a bastion of the principles that one believes the world ought to uphold. It is an unspoken commitment to be the change, to embody the qualities that one deems to be just, compassionate, and right. The ethics of self-cultivation demand an unflinching look inward, a rigorous assessment of one's character, habits, and actions. It is about harnessing the raw materials of our nature and refining them through practice, education, and reflection. Think of it as an artisan tirelessly working upon their craft, where the self is both the artist and the masterpiece in a perpetual state of becoming. This process of self-cultivation is not for the faint of heart. It is a lifelong pursuit that requires tenacity and courage, for it involves not only the acquisition of knowledge, but the much harder task of applying that knowledge consistently in life. It means standing firm in one's ethical convictions, even when the gales of adversity howl and temptations beckon with the promise of easier paths. In the crucible of self-cultivation, virtues such as integrity, honesty, and respect are not just abstract ideals, but living entities that we must feed with our thoughts and actions every day. Integrity becomes the compass that guides us through moral ambiguity. Honesty, the currency of our credibility in the marketplace of interactions. Respect, the language through which our actions speak of our acknowledgement of the inherent worth of all beings. Furthermore, Confucius places great emphasis on the role of relationships in the ethics of self-cultivation. The self does not exist in isolation, but in a vibrant web of connections with others. We are sons and daughters, friends and colleagues, citizens and mentors. Each role comes with its own set of ethical obligations that we must honor through our behavior. To improve oneself is also to improve one's capacity to serve others effectively, to contribute positively to the lives we touch. In cultivating ourselves, we must also be mindful of the balance between the inner and the outer. It is not enough to accumulate wisdom in the abstract. It must be lived. Our inner growth must be reflected in our actions and choices. It is in the doing that the being is tested, and it is in the testing that the true measure of our progress is revealed. Consider the metaphor of the garden. Just as a gardener tends to their plants with care, so must we tend to the gardens of our minds. We must weed out negative thoughts that stifle our growth, water our aspirations with the sweat of our efforts, and ensure that the soil of our will is fertile for the seeds of our ambitions to take root. As we walk this path of self-cultivation, let us remember that the journey itself is the destination. There is no final state of perfection to attain. There is only the constant striving towards it. With each step, we become not only better versions of ourselves, but also more capable of contributing to the greater good. This ethical journey is not a solitary one. We walk it together, each of us influencing the other, learning, sharing, and growing in a magnificent cycle of collective upliftment. Let the wisdom of Confucius remind us that as we cultivate ourselves, we are also cultivating a world in which ethics, compassion, and virtue are not just ideals, but the very essence of our shared reality. Now, imagine a world where each individual commits to this path of self-cultivation, where personal growth and ethical living are intertwined. It is a world not beyond our reach, but one that awaits our collective efforts. So let us step forward, with the wisdom of the past lighting our way, and the hope for a better future as our guiding star. Let us cultivate ourselves with the diligence of the gardener and the heart of the artist, and in doing so, cultivate a world that can flourish in the fullness of its potential. As we embrace the ethics of self-cultivation, we are not merely participants in our own lives, but architects of an enduring legacy. Through the continuous shaping of our character, we lay down the stones of a path that will guide countless others. Our actions ripple through the fabric of time, echoing into the lives of those we may never meet, but who will feel the effects of the virtues we lived by. Let us, therefore, cultivate ourselves with the understanding that every thought we harbor, every choice we make, and every action we take is a brushstroke on the canvas of humanity's collective ethos. Each of us holds the potential to contribute to a masterpiece or to mar it. Let us choose every day to add beauty, to add depth, and to add truth. In this pursuit, we are artists of the spirit, forging in the smithy of our souls the unassailable armor of virtue. We are gardeners of the heart, nurturing the blossoms of compassion and empathy that can withstand the harshest of winters. We are scholars of life, ever learning, ever questioning, and ever evolving in our understanding of what it means to live rightly. As the journey of self-cultivation unfolds, let us not be daunted by the magnitude of the task, for in each moment of choice lies the opportunity to advance, to improve, to ascend to greater heights of ethical being. With every act of kindness, with every gesture of fairness, with every word of truth, we are not just living, we are leading by example. The path of self-cultivation is not a solitary trek into the wilderness of the self, but a communal voyage towards a horizon of shared aspirations. Together, our collective strides toward personal growth can become a march towards a more enlightened society, one where the ethics of self-cultivation are not an esoteric ideal, but the very pulse of everyday life. So, let us march on, with our sights set on the highest peaks of moral excellence. Let us be unwavering in our commitment to this noble quest. And as we march, let us know that our journey is one of endless horizons, a perpetual quest for a summit that beckons, not because it can be reached, but because it represents the limitless potential of the human spirit to rise above, to soar higher, and to be more. This is the call of Confucius, echoing through the ages, a call to each of us to rise to the occasion of our own lives, to cultivate ourselves as if the world depended on it, for indeed, in ways both seen and unseen, it does. Let us answer this call with the fullness of our being, with the courage of our convictions, and with the strength of our character. May we forge ahead, creating ripples of positive change, and may the ethics of self-cultivation guide us to a future resplendent with the best of what we, as individuals and as a collective, can become. We stand at the crossroads of history, where the collective choices of individuals will determine the narrative of our times. The ethics of self-cultivation is more than a personal endeavor. It is a pivotal force that can shape the destiny of our civilization. Each of us carries within us the spark of potential, a spark that can ignite the flames of progress or be smothered by neglect. It is our paramount duty to fan these sparks into roaring fires of ethical action that can light the way for generations to come. As we venture forth on this path, let us hold sacred the values that underpin the very essence of self-cultivation. Let us commit to lifelong learning, not just in the acquisition of knowledge, but in the wisdom to apply that knowledge for the greater good. Let us practice humility, understanding that growth is an endless horizon, and there is always more to learn, more to improve, more to understand. Let us embrace resilience, knowing that the road to self-cultivation is fraught with challenges that will test our mettle and our resolve. These challenges are not impediments, but instruments of our development, sharpening our virtues as a whetstone sharpens a blade. Let us meet these challenges with the steadfastness of purpose and the unwavering belief that our character is forged in the furnace of our trials. And let us cultivate compassion, the most sublime of virtues, for it is the bridge that connects our individual journeys to the collective human experience. To be compassionate is to see ourselves in others, to understand that each person's path to self-cultivation is uniquely their own, yet intrinsically linked to the whole. In nurturing compassion, we expand our capacity to effect positive change, not only in our lives, but in the lives of those around us. As we walk this path, let our steps be firm and our gaze steady. Let us be heartened by the progress we make, no matter how incremental, for every step forward is a victory against stagnation. And as we move, let us move together, a symphony of footsteps, each playing its part in the grand composition of humanity's ascent. The ethics of self-cultivation is a call to arms, an invitation to wage peace on the battlegrounds of our inner conflicts. It is a call to raise our standards, to set our sights higher, to reach for the noblest aspects of our nature. It is a call that does not sound trumpets or drums, but resonates in the quiet moments of decision, in the silent affirmations of our hearts. So let us heed this call with the fullness of our conviction. Let us be relentless in our pursuit of virtue, tireless in our quest for ethical living, and unyielding in our commitment to the betterment of ourselves and our world. In this grand endeavor, let our lives be our message, a message that speaks of the power of one, the power of many, the power of a united vision towards a future where the ethics of self-cultivation is not merely an ideal, but the very cornerstone of our global community. We are the ancestors of future generations, and the echoes of our actions will resonate through the ages. Let us ensure that these echoes tell a story of individuals who dared to dream, who dared to grow, who dared to cultivate the very best within themselves, and by doing so, cultivated a world rich in ethics, in character, and in hope. This is the journey without end, the task without completion, the calling without retirement. It is the legacy we are all capable of leaving, a legacy not written in the annals of history books, but inscribed in the lives we've touched, the communities we've uplifted, and the world we've bettered. Onward we go, not as solitary travelers, but as companions on this most noble of quests, the ethics of self-cultivation, an endless odyssey towards the horizons of what we can and must become.